Notice of this meeting was given to all board members and associates in a meeting notice dated March 4th, 2024. Furthermore, on that date, a copy of such notice was sent to the Times, their Chantonian, and the clerk of the Township of Hamilton. It was also posted on the bulletin board at the entrance to the boardroom in the Hamilton Square Administrative Building. Please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Okay. Dr. Ferrara?
Here.
Mrs. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Kanka?
Here.
Dr. McSheen?
He'll be a little bit late.
Ms. Soto?
We believe she's on the way.
Ms. Stanton?
Here.
Ms. Byrne?
Here.
Mr. Salentano?
Here.
Ms. Thornton?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
Whereas NJSA 10:4-13 requires adoption of the board to go into executive session, be it resolved that the board pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, New Jersey, Title 18A, and the Hamilton Township Board of Education Bylaw number 0166, hereby enter executive session to discuss a matter involving labor matters and matters falling under the attorney-client privilege. Be it further resolved that the minutes of this executive session shall be made public following formal action by the board and/or at the conclusion of any investigation, due process proceeding, or litigation, so long as not prohibited by law and so long as the need for maintaining confidentiality no longer exists.
Okay.
So we're going to do our best to. We do have a special presentation this evening, so we don't want to make them wait. So we'll be out shortly.
I don't know why I didn't.
Thank you,
recognize it.
everyone, for being so patient. We are going to move the agenda around a little bit this evening. We have special guests here for a presentation. So if I can have Dr. Altabello introduce our special guests.
Sure. You're going to go first. So we have two presentations tonight, and the first one I'm going to call up Mr. Chiz, the principal of Yardville School, to introduce the presenters from his school.
Should board members come around this way?
We got to face out. Board members.
We're going to present out to the group, so if you want to move to see them.
Okay, good evening. My name is Rich Chiz. I'm the proud principal of Yardville Elementary. The Yardville Elementary School community is proud to have our enthusiastic fourth grade students showcase highlights of their remarkable Black History Month Wax Museum project. Throughout February, these young scholars have immersed themselves in the rich tapestry of African American history, bringing to life the stories and accomplishments of influential individuals who have made significant contributions to our world. Today, you will witness their passion, creativity, and dedication as they share the inspiring tales of these remarkable figures through their captivating presentations. Join us on this journey as we celebrate diversity, honor achievements, and foster a deeper understanding of the invaluable impact that Black leaders have had on our shared history. Without further ado, let us embark on this enlightening experience curated by our talented fourth grade students. And I'm going to introduce Miss Asquith and our fourth grade students. Buddy. Ready? I'll hold the mic.
If you walk down the right path and keep walking, you will make progress. Hi, I'm Barack Hussein Obama II, but you might know me as Barack Obama. I grew up with 6 brothers and 2 sisters and my mom and dad. I was born in Ormo, Washington, D.C. and Honolulu, Hawaii. I graduated from Columbia University in 1983 with a BA in political science. 8 years later, I got married to Michelle Obama. In 2004, I became senator for Illinois, but I wanted to become president. So in 2008, I won the election. When running for president, many people tried to stop me. I faced many challenges, including having to prove that I was, in fact, from the United States. I was president for 2 terms, or 8 years. Now I live peacefully with my wife and my kids. Hi, my name is Macy Jemson. As one of the only African American students in my class, I experienced racial discrimination in school. My teacher said that I should be a nurse, but I wanted to be an astronaut. In 1992, I became the first African American woman in space, and I stayed there for 8 days. I've written several books, and I've been on an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm proud of all my achievements, and I've shown people who look like me that they could do anything they set their minds to.
Hi, my name is Serena Jamaica Williams. However, you know me best as Serena Williams, and I was born in Sawaganah, Michigan on September 26, 1981. I started playing tennis at the age of 3 years old. Then my dad, Richard Williams, taught me and my sister, Venus Williams, how to play tennis. I won my first match on October 18, 1995, at the age of 14 years old. I became a professional tennis player in 1995 and won the French Open, the US Open, and Wimbledon in 2002. I defeated my sister Venus in the finals of each tournament and won my first Australian Open in 2003. It made me one of only 6 women in the Open era to complete a career Grand Slam. I became the greatest tennis player of all time, even as I endured rackets and sexist attacks. Since I'm still alive, I am grateful to be with everyone I love forever and do what I love.
Hi, my name is Jack Roosevelt Robinson, but people call me Jackie Robinson. I was born in Cario, Georgia in 1919. I had 4 siblings named Edgar, Frank, Matthew, and Willa Mae. I was the first African American to play Major League Baseball in the United States during the 20th century. My career was 9 years as a Dodger. My record included a 311 batting average, 137 home runs, 734 runs batted in, and 197 stolen bases. When I was just 28 years old, I broke the color line for white baseball. Me and my wife had a very big problem with our life. We weren't allowed into segregated restaurants and hotels, and we were bummed from our airplane flight. I was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962. People started riots and wrote death threats to me. I did not only face this with treatment from fans, but players in the Major League organization treated me just as bad, if not worse. Even my own team treated me with disrespect because of my race. In 1955, I helped the Dodgers beat the New York Yankees to win their first World Series championship. I became the first athlete to letter in 4 sports at the UCLA. After I retired from baseball, I continued to help African Americans fight for their basic rights. I used my name and status to work toward equality for all Americans. I was an important person for the civil rights movement.
Hi, I am Sophia Smith, and I'm a professional soccer player. I play forward for the Portland Thorns in the National Women's Soccer League, the NWSL, and I also play for the United States Women's National Team that competes internationally. I was the youngest player to ever win the NWSL MVP, and I was also voted the 2022 U.S. Female Player of the Year. Most recently, in March of 2024, I helped the USWNT win the CONCACAF Gold Cup. I am lucky to have never been affected by segregation or discrimination because the world is a much better place now and people get treated more fairly. I hope to show girls who look like me that they can do whatever they put their mind to. Always remember, talent isn't poor, but the effort determines the level of success.
Hi, my name is Misty Denell Copeland. I was born on September 10th, 1982. I'm an American Ballet dancer for American Ballet Theater, ABT, one of the 3 leading classical ballet companies in the United States. I started doing ballet at the age of 13. Me and my siblings grew up as a single mother whose several failed marriages resulted in fantastical instability. When young, I moved for a family from Kansas City to San Pedro, California. My first time dancing was on the drill team at my middle school, and the segregation that I faced is that some people didn't want me to have the honor. They said ballet was for white dancers. They said ballerinas should be tall and thin, and I'm sure. My major life event was on June 30th, 2015. I became the first African American woman to be promoted to principal ballerinas in ABT's 75-year history. I showed other dancers of the color that they can do it too. I hope my life inspires others.
Hi, my name is Michelle Obama. I live in Chicago, Illinois, and my birthday is January 17th, 1964. I grew up with my mom, my dad, and my brother Craig. As a child, I enjoyed playing the Monopoly and the piano. I was a very smart child. Me and my brother skipped second grade. I graduated from Princeton University and Harvard Law School with a degree in law. While working at the law firm in Chicago, I met Brocco. I married Brocco in 1992. And we had two beautiful daughters, Mila and Sasha. I became the first African American First Lady in 2009 and served 2017. I also wanted to end child abuse and protect healthy eating.
Hi, my name is Trinity Rodman. I was born in Newport Beach, California. You may know my father named Dennis Rodman. I'm a professional soccer player and play for the women's national team. I am one of 12 African Americans on the team. At 19, I joined the national team. I am the youngest to score 5 goals and 5 assists. I got the Orange County Player of the Year. I am proud to be a woman of color, showing other girls who look like me they could play for the national team. I made my professional debut on May 16, 2021. I did not play soccer for my college because when I was a freshman, coach shut down everything, so instead I went to play for the Washington Spirit team, which led me to playing on the national team. I am only 21 years old, and I have already made a huge impression in the soccer world. Hi. I am an inspiration to young women and a great role model.
Hi, my name is Cheryl White. I'm the first African American female jockey in horse racing history. A jockey is a person who races horses. I was born on October 29, 1953 in Cleveland, Ohio. I became the first woman to win 2 races in the same day in 2 states in 1971. I also won 5 thoroughbred races in one day when I raced at the 1983 Francisco Fair. I became the first woman African American to race in America. I started at age 17. I worked as a jockey and racetrack official. I first competed at the Thistledown racetrack outside of Cleveland in 1971. I died on September 20th, 2019 when I was 65. My mother's name was Doris White. My father's name was Raymond White. My dad was my trainer. My mother owned all the racehorses. I'm very proud of myself and all the work I have done and showing women of color that they can be a jockey too.
Hi, my name is Ann Cole Lowe. I was born on December 14th, 1898 in Clayton, Alabama. My parents are Jenny Lowe and Jack Lowe. I have one sister. Her name is Sally Lowe. I went to school at Taylor School of Design and was not accepted into the school because of my race. I was the first African American to become a noted fashion designer as the only African American student in attendance at the time. I was segregated from the rest of my class even with my exceptional sewing skills. I have a son, his name is Arthur Lee Cohn, and my daughter's name is Ruth Alexander. My one-of-a-kind designs were favored by wealthy and socially prominent women from the 1920s to the 1960s. I made bridal gowns and bridal party dresses for the 1953 wedding of Jackie Kennedy and John F. Kennedy, who would become President of the United States in 1961. Although I face many challenges in my life, I am proud of myself for never giving up and setting the way for other fashion designers.
Hi, my name is Simone Ariane Biles. However, you may know me as Simone Biles. I was born on March 14, 1997, and my birthplace is Columbus, Ohio. I have a record score of gold medals. The record number is 23. When I was adopted by my grandparents, it was only me and my sister Adria. My brothers did not come with us. I went to college and got my degree in business administration, although lots of people know me as just having a job as a gymnast. When I do gymnastics, it makes me feel strong and happy. I even love gymnastics so much that I do moves that no one else can do or attempt. I became the most decorated female gymnast in the World Championships history when I won 4 golds, including another all-around title, 1 silver and 1 bronze at the 2018 championships to bring my career total at that competition to 20 medals. I continued to make history in 2019. I have 7 medals from the Olympics, and you can watch me this summer at the 2024 Olympics. I have 1 husband, but 0 children. I just added that.
I know, I like it. All right, thank you everyone for listening. I hope you learned something about these remarkable people. Can we have one more round of applause for our 4th grade? Thank you.
And I would also like to thank you all for coming. And if we could also give a round of applause for Miss Asquith, one of our 4th grade teachers. She did an amazing job with this, along with Miss Johnson, who's the other 4th grade teacher who was also here. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Rocco, Board of Education members, senior staff, families, and community members that are here with us this evening. On behalf of the Sunnybrook community, I want to share how honored and excited we are to host the kickoff to Aware Because We Care on June 5th. Aware Because We Care speaks to inclusion for all students. Tonight, we have students reading and presenting an acrostic poem titled Inclusion. Before we begin, I would like to introduce some outstanding Sunnybrook staff members and thank each of them for their participation this evening. Mrs. Jody Scarano is our learning consultant on our child study team. Ms. Maggie Lawland is our BCBA, that is our board certified behavior analyst. And Mr. John Birdie is one of our special education teachers. I also, before we start, I want to thank all of our parents that came to join us tonight. Thank you very much for taking the time and supporting us this evening. Our presenters this evening, we have Addison, Isabella, Tyler, and Zachary. They're all our wonderful 5th grade students.
Inclusion. I. Inclusion is for all.
N is for never leaving people out.
C is for celebrating each other's strengths.
L is for learning to live together.
U is for using our hearts.
S is for showing others that we care.
I is for inviting others to join in.
O is for opening our minds to differences.
N is for noticing when someone needs a friend.
So now I'm going to read our Hamilton Township District Proclamation, Aware Because We Care. Therefore, be it proclaimed that on the 5th day of June, 2024, the District of Hamilton will honor Aware Because We Care Day by celebrating this year's theme of We All Are one family, one community, and one Hamilton. I thank you for your time this evening, and we look forward to celebrating Aware Because We Care Day on June 5th.
We just have another round of applause for our students. Thank you for coming out, and our staff, thank you for coming out very much.
Just give a few minutes for everyone to get settled. But again, I always love when we have our presentations from our students. Our Yardville students were amazing, our Sunnybray students were amazing, and it's just such a joy to see them coming here and showing everyone how truly amazing Hamilton is. And I just have to say for the last, for Sunnybray students, what a wonderful, powerful message. It's something we should all be listening to, and it's something we should all be living by. So if we can move on to our agenda at this time, we will start with the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Thornton. I'm going to be brief because I'm going to reserve most of my time for the budget presentation. Just a few things. We do have our March DCR committee meeting coming up, and I know that Dr. Machine will talk a little bit about that. 2024 HTSD Summer Camp registration is open, and registration is filling fast. We have our Autism Acceptance Virtual Read Aloud Day on Tuesday, April 9th. Our District College and Career Night on Monday, April 15th at Steinert High School. Tech Night is Thursday, April 25th. Our District Whole Child Fair is Monday, May 13th. Also, a reminder to all families, Friday, March 15th, school is closed for all students. It is a staff professional development day. And more importantly, that the students are interested in, spring break is from March 29th to April 5th. All HDSD schools and most of the offices will be closed during that time. As I mentioned about the Whole Child Fair, the Special Education Parent Advisory Group, their next meeting is April 18th. Our Facility Strategic Planning Committee has its next meeting on March 27th at 6 p.m. at Hamilton High School West Cafeteria. One of the initiatives we have this year is called Difference Makers, and last time I had talked to you, we had about 70 or 80 of those difference makers recognizing staff who are working hard in our district. I am happy to report that we now have 153 of our staff who have been recognized by other staff, and we're talking about our custodians, our maintenance, our classroom assistants, our teachers, our secretaries, anybody and everybody in the district who's working hard are being recognized by their peers. Just on the summer camp, we actually have 546 campers already registered and 12 camps are full. And so with that, I will conclude my report until I give the tentative budget.
Thank you, Dr. Rocco. I'm going to move on to Board of Education. Do any Board of Education members have anything that they would like to report? Dr. Ferrara.
Thank you, Mrs. Thornton. I just want to congratulate Yardville Heights. They now have a little free library, which was donated to the school by the 5th grade class, which is really exciting. And I know Dr. Rocco will talk about this later down the road, but April 8th is a solar eclipse. And so it's not too early to start talking with your kids about not looking at the eclipse. I know that the Hamilton Library will have special glasses if you want to look at the eclipse, so you can go there and get a free pair. That's all.
Dr. Farr. Ms. Harvey?
I just wanted to congratulate, my schedule permitted me to go to Mean Girls at Steiner and Chicago at Nottingham. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend the other plays, but the students did a fantastic job, so I just wanted to congratulate the students who participated as well as the staff who assisted them in such great programs.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Ms. Byrne? Ms. Soto? We'll do this side first, and then I'll move over.
To piggyback off of Christina, since we last met, the arts in our Hamilton schools have been providing top-notch entertainment to the community. All three high schools, as well as Redlands Middle School, have done their annual musical productions. We actually have the star of Mean Girls in the audience. Congratulations, Matt, on a great performance. So if you're looking for a fun family activity and a way to support the arts in our schools, please consider attending Grace's production of High School Musical Junior this weekend, as well as Crockett's production of Into the Woods next weekend. The Steiner High School Jazz Band hosted their annual jazz festival this past Saturday with 18 schools in attendance performing throughout the day, including Grace Middle School's jazz band. It was an incredible day filled with such talented young artists and amazing music. Simultaneously, Nottingham was holding its first indoor percussion competition. We're extremely fortunate to be surrounded by such talented youth led by our dedicated teachers. So I urge the community to take advantage of your local arts and support the talent in our schools. And finally, I'm pleased to announce that 3 of our own high schoolers will also be recognized next week by the Mercer County School Board Association as their 2024 Unsung Heroes. School board administrators were asked to nominate a student who makes their school better simply because they are a part of it and who may often be overlooked under more traditional recognition criteria. From Steiner High School, we have Ryan Schultz. From Nottingham High School, Zobia Chaudhry, and from Hamilton West, Hassan Chaudhry. I congratulate you all, and I look forward to celebrating you at the ceremony next week.
Thank you, Ms. Soto. Ms. Byrne.
So I too was able to attend one of our plays. I want to give a shout out to Reynolds Middle School for a well done and professional performance of The Descendants. From the music, the singing, the dancing, especially the moonwalk, the choreography, everything, it was very professional. You could see that the students and the staff worked very hard. So I just want to say congratulations to Reynolds Middle School.
Thank you, Ms. Byrne. Okay, are there any other Board of Education members that have any comments? Okay, so we're going to move on to our student representatives. From Hamilton North, Nottingham, Vanessa Brick.
Hello, I'm happy to provide an update on the exciting happenings at our school and to share with you the upcoming events that showcase the vibrancy and talent within our student body. First, I'm delighted to report that the recent Chicago play was a tremendous success. The performance drew a full house on Saturday, March 1st, captivating our audience with the incredible talent and dedication of our students. The arts continue to thrive in our school, providing not only entertainment, but also fostering creativity and teamwork among our students. As winter sports have come to a close, we eagerly anticipate the arrival of spring sports. Baseball and boys tennis have already hit the ground running with their practices, setting the stage for an exciting season. The commitment and sportsmanship displayed by our student athletes are truly admirable, and we look forward to cheering them on as they compete and represent our school with pride. In the spirit of community and support, I am thrilled to announce that Cinderella's Closet is now open for all juniors and seniors. This initiative allows students to borrow dresses for free, made possible by generous donations from around the county. This wonderful program not only promotes inclusivity, but also ensures that all students have the opportunity to experience memorable events without financial barriers. Turning our attention to academic achievements, the NJ GPA testing has been concluded from the past 2 days. This standardized testing provides a valuable measure of our students' academic progress. In the realm of arts, Nottingham recently hosted its first indoor percussion competition titled Hood on March 9th. This event showcased the talent and dedication of our students through music and performance, highlighting the diverse interests and skills within our school community. Celebrating our student athletes, the boys basketball county winners were recognized for their outstanding achievements. Dom Raymond received Player of the Year, Jordan Raba received First Team All-CBC, Dante Alexander received Third Team All-CBC, and Jameer Miller received Honorable Mention. These accomplishments not only reflect the hard work of the athletes, but also the dedication of the support of our coaching staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brick. And thank you. And now from Hamilton West, Benny Ajay.
Good evening, esteemed board members and family and friends. I'm a student representative and I'll be speaking on behalf of Hamilton West. Hamilton West has had a very eventful month. The saying, the end of a chapter is the beginning of another, is a perfect representation of these couple weeks at West. All winter sports have ended since last week. Both the wrestling and varsity basketball team have had an amazing season. Boys tennis and golf have already started, and soon will girls and boys track. On March 7th, 8th, and 9th, the Hamilton West Drama Club held their very much anticipated Addams Family production. I did go and watch on Friday, March 8th, and it was phenomenal, amazing. I loved it. Very funny. Shout out to both the cast and crew for all their hard work that they put into this amazing production. On the subject of production, Hamilton West's production of Mr. HHW pageant has officially began practice. I'm so excited to see how it turns out. On February 28th, Hamilton West Project Grad released the senior shirts for sale, and I bought one. It looks very amazing. I'm very excited. On March 6th, Hamilton West Student Government announced the themes for the Spring Spirit Week for the week of March 25th to 28th. On March 6th, the Hamilton West Baseball Booster Club hosted an American Red Cross blood drive in the Hamilton West gym. Both juniors and seniors who were older than 17 were able to donate blood. The event was more than successful, and they had to stop admitting students after like 7th period because there was too many people. And last but not least, the robotics team has made second place on March 11th and 12th during their robotics competition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ajay. At this time, we're going to move on to awards. We did have, and presentations. We did have our 2 special presentations, but at this time, Dr. Rocco is going to be giving us a presentation on the 2024-25 tentative budget.
While they're getting set up, I gave them a challenge, basically starting when we give a presentation. I asked them to set up a mic for me. First time we're using it, so we're giving it a shot. Just tell me where not to. All good? All good? All right, everybody can hear me? I can talk loud. So thank you, everybody, for coming in tonight. We're going to be talking about the tentative budget presentation. Today, we're talking about it. If you were here last month or were watching online, you saw that we gave you a big picture view. Just what are the drivers in the budget? What do we need to think about when we are going forward to build a budget out? So as we do all the time, and if you come to these meetings and you've been to a couple of our budget presentations, you're going to know that we talk about the calendar because we want you to know that this starts months ago. We started in December and we've worked our way through all the way to March 13th, which is today, for our tentative budget. And we actually have a couple of other things that have to go on to finish the budget season out. So if the budget, and hopefully the budget is approved tonight, it will then be submitted to the county for review. We will come back in April and we will do the final budget presentation and final approval, and then that will be submitted the very next day to the Board of Education. So we are about 75–80% done with budget preparation, presentation, and those type of things. I always tell people when we build a budget, we also build it based on goals. And we have 5 goals that we've been using over the last couple of years to build out our budget. That starts with equity. Equity is not equal. That means that we don't give everybody the same thing. We are giving schools, students, staff, programs, the things they need to be successful. And what one school or one program might need, another may not need. So that is equity. Learning acceleration and social emotional learning. We are trying to not only address learning loss, but also accelerating learning. And part of that is advancing our programs, our programs of study, the different types of things that we're offering our students. We also must meet New Jersey's learning standards. So there are items in there, whether that's new textbooks, curriculum writing, professional development that address that. And then we always have issues. We always have a goal that's addressing the issue of security, safety, and infrastructure. And there's a number of things, again, this year. And then the final big goal is to try and get rid of this up and down in budgets. Put things in, don't have the money, have to cut a lot of things, cut things, put more things in, up and down. We try to be as stable as possible as we go along. And knock on wood, I'd like to thank Ms. Atwood and her staff, my senior staff, and everybody else that works on the budget, that we've been relatively successful with that goal over the last 6 or 7 years. However, I do truly believe that our district is at an inflection point. We have to make some tough decisions moving forward. We have growing enrollment, we have rising costs, we have aging facilities, and we have changing student needs. Now, we are currently addressing all of those, and you can look on the right-hand side. We are trying to create usable learning spaces for our students, and that has included some temporary classrooms at a number of our schools. We've been looking to find efficiencies. One of the examples is within our transportation. And we have aging facilities, and we have a facility strategic plan that anybody in our community can participate in. We've been meeting for a long time now, and we're getting ready to finalize some suggestions to the Board of Education. And even as we're at the end of this process, you can still jump in and be able to be part of the decision-making as we move forward for our district, our students, and our community for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And then with our student needs, as our student needs change and our community changes, we're trying to address those needs as we move forward. And you will actually see some of that in the budget also. But what we're also saying is we need to fund for this now, and we need to fund for this in the future so that we can move forward with the budget goals and addressing these issues that we see as paramount to the success of our district in the future. So a couple of demographic things, and if you were here last month, you saw some of this. We've had 2 demographic studies in the last 10 to 12 years. The first demographic study are the red lines. The new demographic study are the yellow lines. And the actual enrollment in our district are the blue lines. And what you can see is no matter what the study was, red or yellow, our enrollment continues to outpace estimate. That is a concern. Now, the second demographic study, which was just completed last year, that demographer is rerunning numbers based on new enrollment numbers and will produce some new projections. But if we continue to grow like this, we are running out of space. K through 12. This is why the facility strategic plan is important, and that is why we need to plan now and for the future when it comes to funding. Within our enrollments, our English language learner population has grown also. And so you will see 2021, we had 572 students, 2022, 23, we had 717, and 2023, 2024, we have 964. And we took periods of time that pretty much matched up. So you're looking at February of 2022, March of 2023, and February of 2024. So trying to compare same time periods. But this number continues to grow. This is the changing need in our students. At the same time that the population is growing, our English language students are growing, so is the enrollment of our charter schools. And I've talked a number of times about the charter schools in our district, and the concern that I have that our funding is going to the charter schools. There is still one that is out there that still we have not heard if it is approved or not approved, and we are required to budget for it. And you're going to see that in our budget this year. But that enrollment is going from this year of 316 to a projection of 562. And we pay for that. So if you break down added costs because everything is going up. You're a community member, you know that. You go to the grocery store, you go out to eat, you get gas, you get your car fixed. All that stuff is going up in cost. We picked 3 examples of dozens that we can all relate to. Health benefits since 2018-19, the year before the pandemic, to what we're budgeting today, has gone up 37%. Transportation has gone up 57.5%, and gasoline has gone up 84%. If we dig a little deeper into one of these items, and we dig into transportation, you can see from 2015-16 to what we are budgeting for 24-25, how this has increased. Now, here we go. These 2 years are our COVID years, so they are artificially low, right? Because we were on remote. Okay, but you can see once we came back, these spiked and continue to go up. All right. So that's just digging a little deeper into just one of those items. And like I said, out of these 3 that we picked, these are relatable to all of us, but there's lots of other items that have gone up a tremendous amount, more than the 2% we're allowed by law. Okay. There are other significant drivers that are driving this budget that we have to deal with that are going up higher than 2%. We need additional staff to address the increased enrollment. Our charter school numbers are going up beyond 2%. Our ELL, as I talked about, our out-of-district costs for students who need specialized program is increasing more than 2%. Our health benefits are going up. Everything we're buying is increased, and we are also in contract negotiations with 2 bargaining units, and that is also something we have to factor in as we go along. And then another piece of this is we've been receiving federal funding for the last couple of years to offset some costs. Federal funding is ending, so that amount of money will be gone. Over the last couple of years, we've been making an effort to fund in our budget staffing that we paid for through federal funding, software, technology, supplies, so that it is not one of those balancing acts of buy a lot of stuff, then have to cut stuff. So we've been trying to balance that out also. So what have we been able to do to build into this budget? Well, pre and post state aid is how we've built the budget. So you're going to see in a couple of minutes what I mean by pre-state aid, post-state aid. But what you can see is to advance learning, to advance the academics of our students, we are looking to put in new programming, math programs at K-5 and 9-12, so new math series, AP textbooks for biology, macroeconomics, psychology, and world history. We have accounting, business, personal finance, textbooks, all new textbooks for those classes. We're expanding our Orton Gillingham program for our youngest readers, not only in the program, but also professional development for our teachers. And we are doing elementary upgrades. So over the years, we started with our high schools, we were upgrading our high schools. And if anybody 6 or 7 years ago went into our high schools, they looked like they hadn't been upgraded since they were built. Now these are facilities for our students to go individually and go study there, small group go study, a whole classroom go study. So they are inviting, welcoming places that our kids want to go to. Within our special education department, a couple of things that we are also adding here, curriculum enhancements, our music rotation for West and Grice, our art rotation, so we're buying new instruments and new equipment in the art classrooms and the music classrooms. That'll be at North and Crockett. Equipment enhancements for our STEAM and applied technology, 6 through 12. Instructional platforms to enhance teaching and learning, and this includes partly bringing in some of those federal funded supplies and software that we were using and now putting them in our base budget. And then high quality, meaningful professional development. We have a very robust professional development program here in the district. We offer professional development all year long, not just during the 5 days of professional development, but on any given day, our staff is eligible for, and there probably is some type of professional development being offered to help them enhance their skills. This was the slide I thought was next, I apologize. In our student services, they also have new curriculum. that they are going to purchase in the budget, which is our LLD classrooms, resource room, and in-class resource rooms. We're going to fully implement our data teams and at our elementary and start data teams at our middle schools. And actually, in a month or two, we are going to have a presentation on this. So when we talk about data teams and we talk about what's called MTSS, you are going to understand exactly what we're talking about and why this is very important to not only the academic success of our students, but also to how our teachers approach our students when they are struggling academically. We will continue to work on implementing mental health services for our students across the district, and we have social thinking class at the middle school level. Outside of the curriculum, the Board of Education many years ago committed to evaluating the status of technology in our district and making the hard decisions on making sure these classrooms and our schools had state-of-the-art infrastructure. Then once you had the infrastructure, we needed the devices. Then after we had the devices, we needed the professional development. Well, you can see going back to 2016 and 22, all the work that was done, all the way to the green column, which is the recommendation in this budget, which is device replacement on an annual cycle so that we don't repeat what we had years ago, going back to 15, 16, when a teacher had a 10-year-old device. If you work in any industry where you use a laptop, an iPad, whatever device you have, a 10-year-old device doesn't work, okay? We don't have that anymore. We're also replacing some interactive panels in the classrooms or projectors in the classrooms. We are enhancing our cybersecurity across the district, and we are adding additional security cameras and technology enhancements to support our school safety across the district. Early on, I said we're growing in enrollment. I said one of our drivers is that we need to provide new staff to address the growth in enrollment. I am recommending 14 additional staff in the district, 2 additional ESL teachers and 2 bilingual teachers in the district, 3 additional special education teachers, 1 additional bus driver, 1 elementary shared vice principal, and then after the state aid numbers came out, 3 additional elementary interventionists, 1 IT support specialist, and 1 shared secretary analyst shared between student services and the business office. And that adds up to 14 additional staff. Those staff fit in with our goals, fit in with the drivers that I've talked about, fit in with the needs of the district. We also have committed, the board is committed, I've committed to making sure that our facilities are in good shape. The board, the community has invested in the $55 million referendum. We implemented all of that work, and we've continued to do work in this district. You are going to see some federal funding, $2.8 million of federal funding this summer for Wilson and University Heights to replace their HVAC units. North is getting some windows in the science wing that need to be replaced. A ramp will be put in the west cafeteria. We also put in to receive state funds. They're called ROD grants, regular operating district grants. We did receive them, and that offsets the cost of some projects up to 40%. So those grants are going to allow us to do HVAC work at Layler and also roof replacements at all 3 of our high schools. And just to give a shout out to Ms. Atwood, who's our business administrator, one of her many, many, many objectives and goals is to make sure that every one of our schools has a roof that's under warranty. And by allowing us to do these roof replacements in this time frame, all of our roofs will remain in warranty status. We also do our lease purchase. I talked a little bit about that. So that's technology, musical instruments, STEM equipment, and some art equipment, also some flooring. We always do flooring every year across the district, and also replacing some operational vehicles that are no longer safe for our men and women in our facilities department to drive. Taking from capital reserve, we are going to do boiler projects at Crockett and McGalliard. We have to do some work in the Crockett shops to convert those to classrooms, and we are working on our science labs and media circulation desks to make them ADA compliant. Within the 2024-25 budget, on top of all of that, we will do about $2.7 million worth of work to repair, upgrade, and maintain our facilities, and that includes work with our 25 tradesmen. So with that, in all that work, one of the drivers I said was charter schools, and the enrollment is going up, and when the enrollment goes up, the cost goes up. And so right now we are paying $5.4 million in charter school costs. We estimate with the increase that the DOE has told us, that will go up by $5.1 million to $10.5 million. So that charter school enrollment increase means that $5.1 million is going to the charter school and not going to our buildings, our students, our staff, our community. With all of that, putting all those items in that were pre-state aid numbers, and you put that in, you figure out increases, the charter schools, expenditures, the revenue that we have, it ended up being about an $8.9 million budget gap, right? That was before we saw our state aid. The history of our state aid here is that we've always been underfunded. And if you've ever come to a budget hearing, I've always talked a lot about being underfunded. Well, we are at or as close to fully funded as we can be at this point based on the new funding formula. So we actually are now fully funded in our transportation line at $5.2 million, and the state says we should get $5.2 million, but that is not all we spend on transportation. That is just what the state is giving us and what they say they should be giving us for it. In special education, we are fully funded at $14.6 million, but that is not all we spend on special education. It's just what the state says that they should be funding us, and they are funding us there. You take all that and all the other items and you put it into the formula that the state says, the state still comes back and says that we are under adequate in our spending in the budget. The state software says that we should be spending another $30.5 million in our budget. And that would be spending from the local tax levy. Now, I said we were about $8.9 million budget gap. We got $25.4 million this year in state aid. We do not anticipate ever getting that amount again because we're about as fully funded as we can be. We should have been fully funded like that for years, going back 7, 8 years, right? But we're very appreciative. We're very thankful for getting it this year. So that then gave about $16.4 million out of the gap. And so how did we allot that? And what you're going to see is this aligns with preparing for now and the future. We're going to make a deposit of $3.5 million in the capital reserve in preparation for having to do renovations, possible additions, those type of things. We have to be prepared for the future. We're going to do phase 2 and 3 of our high school auditorium upgrades. So we are in phase 1 right now. If you have been in our high school auditoriums, they need an overhaul. They need new sound systems. You ever sat in the seats? They need new seats. They need new lighting, everything. So we are accelerating that process. It's supposed to be a 3-year process. And I want to be clear, it may actually take 3 years to get all that work done, but we are accelerating the funding to move it faster. Our locker room upgrades at the high schools and middle schools, they are in disrepair, whether it's for changing for gym or for our sports programs. We need to do something because some of them are just in horrible condition. We're going to, and it was added in another slide, but it had asterisks next to it. Next year, we were going to do the math curriculum at the elementary level. We're doing it this year. We need it this year, right? So we're going to do it this year. The 3 additional elementary interventionists, I had it on the other slide, but that is post-state aid. The additional IT support person, that was on the other slide, but it's post-state aid. Additional security upgrades. So I don't want to go into a lot into the security upgrades, but we are in this part of the upgrade. One of the things we have concerns about is making sure the facility is locked with the doors, and this would give us an opportunity to make sure that that was happening across the district. We need in a number of our high schools, middle schools, and some elementary schools, some work on the bathroom dividers in the bathrooms for our students to make sure that they're clean and appropriate for our students. We are going to do upgrades on top of what I had originally budgeted for the library, so we're going to accelerate year 2 of the elementary library upgrades, so our librarians will be able to have their libraries the way they want them in September versus waiting to a year from September for another budget line. We're going to build out our middle school summer academic program, which I talked about last month, and our high school credit recovery program. We're working with the high school principals on that. Some athletic field security that we're going to enhance, additional cafeteria upgrades, and one of the main problems we have had, because everybody says, let's put window units in all the classrooms all across the district. Can't do it. Can't do it for a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons is our electrical systems do not handle that. They weren't built for that. So we are going to start with some electrical upgrades of about $500,000, and that is the start of a process to upgrade the electrical systems in our schools. So the board is going to vote on this, a balanced budget, and I'll let you take a look at that: expenditures, revenues, taxes raised. And that is actually what the board votes on tonight. And the slide that really most people want me to start with, but I end with, is what is the cost here. So the ratables you can see, and that's based, and the average household is $217,005. That's 2024. That is right now. So that's the average household cost. And the tax increase is $5.90 per month, or $32.61 per 100 assessed value, or $70.77. And that is 2% plus an enrollment adjustment that we are eligible for. We're actually eligible for a enrollment adjustment, a healthcare adjustment, and we have banked cap. We did not put all of that in here. We just took the enrollment adjustment as to balance the budget, and that is a 3.3% increase on the tax levy. And so this is the cost for this year of the budget. And with that, I'll look to my senior staff. Was there anything that I left out? No? Good. Look to my senior staff. Good. Okay. We'll turn the lights on and answer any questions.
Okay. Just let Dr. Rocco get settled, and we'll open it up for any questions that board members might have. I started on this side, so I'll start on this side. Do I have any questions on the proposed budget?
Probably.
Okay. Do you want me to start on that side? Okay.
I'm still thinking.
Okay, so I'll go back. Does okay. Ms. Soto?
Thank you, Madam President. Dr. Rocco, you have proposed 14 additional staff members.
Yes.
One of which is a shared principal at 2 of the elementary schools.
Shared vice principal, yes.
The shared vice principals. Can you provide a little background as to which schools they are and why you feel that's needed?
Absolutely. So the proposal would be to share the vice principals between Cooser and Wilson. They have the largest student populations in our district, and in some cases, they double the number of students in some of our other elementary schools. And so they now have the same amount of administrative support as every other elementary school in the district, and they need additional support based on the increased number of students that they have. And also, sorry about that, they're also increasing in enrollment.
So the 2 schools are at double the rate of our other elementary schools.
Some of them.
Some of them, and we're proposing a half-time person. having shared staff, I know it creates inconsistency. We're also dealing with a very real retention issue, like the rest of the workforce, and burnout amongst teachers and administration. So I would like to ask the board to consider 2 full-time vice principals, 1 for each elementary school, Wilson and Cooser.
We have any comments or follow-ups
Yeah,
to what
please,
Ms. Soto said?
please.
Mr. Salantano.
Let me make sure I understand this. You want to propose a full-time VP at each of the elementary schools. See, I don't know if I could support that, because that's going to then down the road, we're going to start having an abundance of administrators that I think there's a better way to do it. I do think we need some help. Way back when, there was a proposal, I can't remember who did it when, and I'll go look at my notes at home, I can figure it out. But when we need help like this, why does it always have to be a principal or a vice principal? Why can't we have something called like an assistant administrator? Obviously, they have to have the credentials and have to be able to do it. I'm looking at the long-term cost for something that just may explode, and we don't really have anything to measure it by. If anything, I think that if you want to support the shared individual, that to me would maybe be more doable, because then you can get some statistics in the next year or so and say, hey, wait a minute, we do need full-time folks. You know, that would make more sense to me. That's just from me.
And I would just counter that what we do already know is that the schools are at almost double the rate, which would account for a full-time principal. So 2 people balances it out. I did a lot of work around the achievement gap in the past, and we know that prisons are built at the rate of 3rd grade test scores. So the minor impact, really it's a drop in the bucket when we're talking, the overall proposal. The minor impact of the addition to the household increase, we'd say, is getting ahead of the problem too. Providing more support to our elementary schools, making sure our students are supported, and creating knowledgeable young individuals.
So just give you some real-time numbers. This was from February. Wilson actually had 500 students, which we are adding another portable because we expect to expand the number of sections next year. So that'll be their 3rd portable outside. And Cooser, as of February, had 484, and they have two portables outside, and we do expect them to increase. Several other schools have 242 students, 282, 267. Number of them are below 300 at the elementary level. So just some real-time numbers for you.
So Dr. Rocco, could you maybe give us some context as to what a shared VP would do? Are they doing observations? Are they working with kids? Are they covering?
They would do everything a VP would do while they're in the building, and what would happen is the principals would have to schedule them. So one week, one example of a schedule would be 1 week, a VP works Monday, Tuesday in one building, another building Wednesday, Thursday, and then goes to the first building again on Friday, or they rotate Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, reverse it for the following week. But they would have an observation load, the equivalent of a full-time administrator. They would see students, they would work with students, they would do duties, bus duty, lunch duty, same thing that every other administrator does.
Scott? Yep. Couldn't that be done also with individuals who have the credentials to do so, but not with that title? And there's another thought I had when I just said that to myself. Is there a possibility that we could entice some retired folks to do that at a different, I don't really want to use salary and wages because that's not fair. But I think what I'm looking at down the road is by bringing in new folks at that level, we impact our health benefits and all the other benefits that go with it. So that's another thought that I would like to throw out there, if that's a possibility. But the original question was, can this be done also with assistant administrators that have the credentials to do what they need to do?
So, and I'll check I would go to our attorney, but I believe if they're in the same bargaining unit, they can't observe themselves. Like, so if it was a member of the Teachers Association who then had the title of, I don't even know a title we could use, but they had a principal certificate, I don't know if they could observe their peers because they're not technically an administrator. Is that correct, without the title? And they can't discipline either.
Right, but if they were moved into the Administrators Association, you could do it that way.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to have to create 2 new titles anyhow, okay?
But
I think.
elementary vice principal.
Yeah, because we don't have a such thing.
Correct.
Right.
That's correct.
So if I can just clarify a little bit between what Ms. Soto and what I'm hearing from both of you. So technically in this budget, we do have a proposed elementary VP that will be shared. So the one position is technically in the budget. I think what Ms. Soto is saying is that due to the enrollment and as large as the schools are, could we see or support 2 VP elementary vice principals instead of 1, so that the schools are not sharing them and each one would have them. Now, I see what you're saying, Mr. Chantal, regardless of whether we call them a vice principal, administrative assistant, like you said, supervisor, however it is, but in that capacity, I think that reasoning why, and I'll let Dr. Rocco speak, as a vice principal, because you would be directly in the school working with the principal, as opposed to as a supervisor working with the entire, we'll say, science department or something like that. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, so you have department chairs, which is, I think, something that used to exist in the district, but they work just within the department. You're talking about somebody that would be in the administrative unit, would have all the rights and privileges of an administrator using the principal certificate, which includes the evaluation, the discipline, the suspension, has all those authorities and responsibilities.
I mean, I'm just trying to skin a cat here for a while because I'm sure there's a couple other elementary schools coming up on the horizon that are going to meet that level also. So instead of having a school district full of vice principals at elementary schools, and everything is cyclical, okay? 10, 20 years ago, you probably, with the same thing going on now, you would have maybe 1,000 youngsters less. Those schools may not have been as overcrowded as they are now. Could have been Mercerville and Greenwood at that time. And
so I think you bring up.
I'm trying to think down the road so that we don't just do something now that we're going to have to replicate down the road. It's like when the state comes to you and says, we're going to give you $500,000 to operate this program, and then 2 years later, the program's doing fine, and we have to fund it.
Right. So I think it's a valid concern that you have here about the enrollment numbers in buildings across the district. So at the elementary division, and I'm looking at this, and again, these are February 2024 numbers that we have. These are real numbers that are put together by our tech department. So Wilson, I said, is at 500, Cruiser's at 484. There is not another elementary building in the 400s, and I'm looking very quickly because I can't sort this.
I think Greenwood is at like at 382 or something.
Greenwood is at 267.
Okay.
So you're talking about, I think, so I'm looking at these right now, that's 317. So the highest I'm seeing is 349 as the highest, and I'm doing this real quick. Hold on, sorry, I got to do this. All right, I can see it better now. The numbers were accurate that I gave you.
See if you're a good math teacher.
349 looks like nope, 377. So 377 is the largest, is the next largest. So you're talking about over 100 113 students more between our second largest and our third largest.
And you see what's going to happen down the road, okay? So that particular school, and maybe a couple of schools that are close to that, they're going to be in front of this school board asking to do the same. And what I'm trying to get at is have something that could be affordable if that happens. Can we continue to afford to put vice principals in elementary schools? And we have 17 of them, and think about it, all right? Because I know we'd like to see it, okay, as a board. I'm pretty sure the board would like to see it. But you have to think what we're doing here. It's other people's money we're spending here. And I don't want to deny anything like that. And I kind of agree with Denise that, it would be nice to have a full-time person. I'm not denying a full-time person. I'm just trying to think of a way that we can do it that makes sense, that when it is done, that we don't get complaints that, well, you didn't do it for us, you didn't do it for us. And if we have to do it for everybody, it may become affordable. I don't know if anything's affordable, but as a point of contention.
And I think a number of 450 and above is a pretty fair number to say that's when we start considering, and both of these schools are well above that. So you're at 480, 484 and 500. And again, we are projecting growth at those two schools because we are opening new sections at those schools next year, those two schools. So you're talking about if we open at Wilson, the next section, we're going to be somewhere in the 520, 525. At Cooser, somewhere close to 5. So you're talking about these are substantially above that 450 number. And I think 450 is the number where you start talking about, hey, what's the need? We've exceeded that for years at these two buildings.
Is that 450 with the additional buildings? The original building, that's something we should know too. What does the original building hold? And if these are all portables out there with the additional students, that becomes another contention.
Well, it is, and that's part of the facility strategic plan. That's one of the things we've been talking about, but it is, and you are right, that does include the exterior spaces that we put in because the enrollments continue to grow there. And we anticipate that continuing for next year. And just as I put on the slide, you can see the projection is that it increases again, and we're above projection.
Well, we can end this right now unless somebody else has another one, but I would appreciate it, and I don't know about the rest of the board, I would appreciate it if we could just think of something as, I'm trying to lay out here, and if you got to go back to the other way, fine, but I think what I'm trying to do is exhaust all of the possible reasonable, I think they're reasonable options. If not.
Harvey. What's the impact of Ms. Soto's suggestion on the budget process, and is there time for the board to consider after the administration's considered the request?
So we've budgeted between 120 and 130,000. That includes the salary and the health benefits. I think, Ms. Atwood, you could probably give us an idea if we increased the budget by that amount, what the additional cost would be based on the slide I put out.
Yeah, so
2 cents.
if we increase the budget another 130,000, it would increase the average taxpayer amount of an additional $2 and change in like a cent or two annually.
Annually.
Not the $2. I'm just.
No, it's not.
On the average homeowner.
Is to the extent that we approve a budget with that additional item, that's not an actual line item. The administration then can use that money as it sees fit. The point of tonight is just to approve the budget itself.
Final amount, yes, for the preliminary budget.
And Ms. Atwood, if the decision was made tonight, we could make that adjustment. If the decision was made in April, we could make that adjustment, correct?
Correct.
Sure.
It's a little bit easier to make it tonight because the county has to review it. They would have to re-review it if it was done in April, but you have the option of doing it either time.
Yeah, Dr. Rocco, I just had 2 questions related. Number one, if, for instance, we put in policy that once a school reaches 450 students, then we start reviewing whether or not they need more administration, is that something that we could put in place so that, let's say, if Wilson's numbers dropped and somewhere like Klockner, Yardville, or somewhere else went up, we could then possibly transfer people or work with that as the numbers change?
We could do that. We could have the Curriculum Instruction Committee look at policy, and that would be based on probably the policy that's associated with our class sizes. And then we could make some suggestions to the whole board and see if in first reading that was acceptable to the board, and then move on from there.
Okay, and then my other question was, I know obviously as a district we're larger, but a lot of surrounding districts have elementary schools that are the same size or larger than some of ours. Do they typically have other administration vice principals of the sort?
Yeah, they typically have a number in which the enrollment indicates the need for a vice principal. So when I was a principal, the number for discussion was about 450. It just happened that my building had about 450. I never got a VP. So, but it was always a conversation at budget time. That was the number where we started talking. I do know one of my colleagues who was a principal, he had, I think, it was over 500, but I don't want to misquote it, but just slightly over 500, and he got a VP.
Okay.
Because that was the conversation that went on over a period of time.
Right, so that's the typical, these are the typical numbers or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. McSheen.
Just some questions for my general understanding. So is it correct that we don't have any shared administrators now? I know we have shared teachers for some specialty subjects, for example. Teachers that are shared?
No, our supervisors go to all the buildings across the district depending on what the responsibility is, and they're broken into elementary or secondary divisions, so they go between those buildings. But shared administrators, I'm thinking no principals or vice principals, no. They're all home-based in their school. So we have a principal for every school, and then the vice principal is based on the secondary division, middle school or high school. Nobody's shared.
And so in general, how do the elementary admin to student ratios compare with the middle school, and would, if we have additional administrators at these two, that kind of still fall in line with both of those ratios?
Kind of a quick number at the middle school. So if you break it down, well, I don't have to even do quick numbers. I can look for you. So it's close to, you're going to say about 900 on average, because it's two schools are well over 900 and one's at 830. So say 900. It's about 300 students per administrator at the middle school. I don't know if Dr. Altabello did the math on the on the high schools.
The high schools is a little bit more. The high school average is roughly 400
About
per
400.
administrator. Middle school is roughly 300.
Obviously, there's different needs at those levels, so I
Yeah, bigger
understand that.
students, more involvement, different activities. But our elementary schools do have a lot of events too that happen before school, after school, different types of things. But yes, high school is most involved.
And I guess I have two comments. One is, obviously we're striving to hire the best people possible. But to me, a shared administrative role brings with it extra challenges for that person that can make the job obviously a little more challenging than just staying in one school. And that plays into, for me, the longevity of that person and their ability to stay in the district and also be a meaningful part of their building. So just kind of putting those two out there. So I am in support of having two more people instead of one.
It is a legitimate concern. And so you bring up a good point. One of the items on my budget is the elementary positions, the 3 elementary positions. And so we're running some numbers right now, but what that would do is that would stop 2 groups of our teachers from having to travel between buildings. And so it would actually assign them to a specific elementary school. And so, because one of the things we struggle with is our itinerant staff, art teachers, music teachers, ALPS teachers, librarians, some of them get tired of traveling, right? And sometimes they're assigned to a building for the whole day. Sometimes they have to go from one building to another during a day. So yes, that is a problem, that is a concern.
And there's also, multiple building cultures that you have to contend with histories and all that. And so I think if we want to consider, having teachers administrators who are here for longer with more, I guess, a higher quality of experience, it does make sense to have at least two of these administrators. Sorry, keep saying teachers.
Ms. Byrne?
So with all this talk about the administrators and the classes that are getting larger, I'm thinking about the teachers now. So Mrs. Stanton asked a question, when the schools reach a certain level, we're thinking possibly talking about another administrator. Do we have a policy existing now in Hamilton for class size
Yes, we do.
and how many teachers we have per class?
We do. And we've been pretty true to that. But part of that also is why you will see in the staffing recommendations, I'll just quickly count for you, but 2, 4, 7, 10. 10 are actually certified teachers that I'm recommending, additional out of the 14 total that was on that slide. And that's to address enrollment increases in the district.
Dr. Farrar?
To Mr. Celentano's point, and we hardly ever agree, Mr. Celentano, but instead of raising more money, we could go in and cut something to generate that $130,000. I'm not sure what that would be, but that is always an option. I agree with my colleagues. I think putting a full-time VP at a school is much better. It's better for the kids, especially I've been in schools, I've taught. You have a child that doesn't see you for 2 days, and they might be the only person that they see during the week that they connect with. So there's always that consideration.
So there's two different aspects here. We're looking at we currently have the one position that's included in the budget. We're looking, do we add an additional position as well? And there's also two ways that we can do that. We can take a look at the budget again. You can agree to approve the budget, the number that it is, and then you can allocate funds differently. Am I correct in saying that, Dr. Rocco, for the final budget? Or we can move forward to make a motion to add and change the actual number. Am I correct in saying that?
I believe that is accurate, and I'm looking to Ms. Atwood, and she says yes.
Do that by next month.
Correct. So now, being that this is something that just came up, my question is, what can we do as a board so that we can take a look at, maybe get an idea from Dr. Rocco on what it is we're looking to cut? And I don't get to use the word cut, adjust. We're going to adjust the budget if we decide to go with an additional vice principal. Am I correct in saying that? So
Yeah, I mean, nothing is simple because we've built this budget to address the goals and the current and future needs. One of the things that we did accelerate on here was the elementary libraries, which I've already budgeted initially money for, and then we were going to accelerate the final year of that. We could take the cost of the second VP out of that, which would still leave $40,000 for the additional part of the upgrades, so they would get more than they were getting in year one, and then the line stays the same, right? The amount you're approving stays the same. It's just how we've allocated the funding. The expectation wouldn't have been to get year one and year two in the libraries. We were just doing that as a way to accelerate that process.
So do you need a motion for?
No,
No.
because the only thing I would need from the board is agreement that that would be how we would allot the funding so that I could then build that in for the final budget presentation.
So what is that, a vote, or is that a consensus? Is that a go around the room and let you know?
Sorry to add to that,
It's not changing the vote on the
is not.
tax levy, it's changing on the allocation of how we submit. I don't think a vote is needed, but you
Yes.
certainly recommend or vote on it, but I don't need it for submission.
But if we wanted to increase the budget, we would need a
Yes.
motion.
Yes.
Right, because you're voting on the preliminary submission, which is the numbers. So this is a reallocation of the numbers, but I do think getting board consensus would be.
I would like board consensus if that would be, because we also have to bring it to the county. And I need to have be able to have a conversation with them to say, it's where we're at.
Dr. Rocco, this wouldn't pause the library renovations?
They've already got phase one money built in pre-state aid. This was going to accelerate the project and finish it in 1 year.
Okay.
So what it would be is it would be year one plus, because there would be, what did I say, $30,000 or $40,000 remaining that would be divvied up to 17 libraries on top of what we initially budgeted for them.
Okay.
So then they would have funding for the following year that would finish that project up.
Well, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to do that, or would you prefer for us to take a vote and make, add the $2?
So that's a decision that the board has to make, and I can't guide you on that. What I would say to you is, we were very cognizant of the positions we were increasing. However, you are absolutely right. 2 VPs, based on enrollment, based on growing need, based on the challenges that we have, are needed. Could it be handled some way else in the future? I think it's worth a conversation, but I will also say this, and this is not a secret. Over the next 5 to 6 years, this district will go through an administrative transition, retirements of many administrators who have been here a long time. And so one of the things that prepares you to be a leader in a building is to be a vice principal. I had the benefit of being a middle school vice principal. Dr. Copeland had the same thing. Dr. Altabello has had the same thing. We've been there, and so you get the ability to learn and train with somebody who has the ultimate decision, but you're learning as you go, so you're ready when the position opens up. One of the other things I think we're very proud of here in the district is that we do take time to grow a number of our employees, from teachers to administrators, VPs, principals, supervisors, and this would also afford that opportunity.
So I'm going to start off with getting a consensus of the board of who would like to add an additional elementary VP to this budget, being that now the budget would have 2 elementary vice principals and not a shared. Can I get a consensus from the board on
Not
who?
for me, not until we look at other options.
Okay.
I mean, I'm serious. If we
No?
don't look at other options, I mean,
Okay.
you're telling
I'm
me,
just trying to
take
get a
it or leave it.
consensus to see how we're moving
I'm not
forward.
about to do
Yeah,
it.
it's just
Can I
a
ask another
consensus.
question that might potentially change mine? So we are in the process of the facility strategic plan, and it's possible that current schools, how they are allocated, might change based
Correct.
upon whatever report comes out.
Correct.
So if we were to approve this second administrator VP for an elementary school, it's possible that it's not going to be the way it is talked about tonight going into the future, because everything might change in 2 years, right?
That's correct, and I would have to say also the ultimate goal would be to not have elementary schools at 500 or higher. Now, that's a large number of students in one building. They really should be 450 or below. And probably in years past, going back 10, 12, 15 years, they probably were. All right, so you are correct with the recommendations. It could change the dynamic and the staffing levels at certain buildings.
And then one other follow-up would be, to the extent that we hire 2 VP administrators, they would not have tenure. So in the event that everything goes out the window, we're not stuck with them. So it's not like they're on our roles for forever if things change with the plan.
So a couple of things. I'd never want to post a
say-
position with the potential that it's just going to
Say
get
never.
cut, right? So nobody wants to be put in that position. Technically, if the enrollments dropped and funding dropped and other things, you can reduce administrative staff. Whether they're tenured or not tenured, it then depends. If everybody's tenured, then it depends on seniority in the position, specific positions.
So I have,
Can we just go
Mr.
around the
Kanka?
room?
hi. I'm just going around just to get a consensus of who would approve adding an additional VP. So you would have 2 and not shared.
I'll support that.
Okay. Dr. McSheen?
I would support that.
Soto? Support that.
I support that.
Yes. Yes.
So we do have a consensus to move forward, so that's the first step. The second step is going to be having to decide, are we going to add that additional position in the budget currently the way that it is and the numbers that they are, and adjust some other things in the budget so that we don't go higher, or are we going to move to raise the budget by the additional funds of $120,000? Dr. McSheen.
So a question for Dr. Rocco. Just for my clarification, can you be excruciatingly clear of what it would mean to delay based on the plan we had before for the libraries? Like, what does that mean for the classes and the students?
For the libraries, I expected it to be a 2-year plan. We were accelerating based on state aid to 1 year. So this would just go back to the original plan. That's all it would be. And it's actually year 1 plus, because they actually would get additional funding because of the balance that's 170,000 in that line. We're saying 130 would be taken out. So there would be $40,000 additional funding beyond what we expected to fund in year 1.
And practically, like in the building on the day-to-day, would that mean that, you know, the library itself is inaccessible for, or is it just
100%.
parts of it?
Yeah, 100% accessible from day 1. This is going to create, and it's based on the library space that's available and the librarian. This can develop into small spaces, individual little places for kids, movable furniture so that they can have small group, big group, individual activities, maybe some new bookshelves, maybe some new display cases, maybe a new projector, things like that. So it's not going to delay anything. If we didn't fund any of it this year, they would operate next year just like they do this year. This is just going to modernize. And so we plan to modernize over 2 years. This budget, based on state aid increases, accelerated that to year 1. Now we're saying it would go back to 2 years, but you would be ahead because we'd have additional funding in there this year. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Kanka.
I've been going to the strategic planning meetings for some time now. Like Dr. Rocco said, they've been going on, seems like forever. And we're really in the infancy of that whole process right now. So if anything was to come to fruition with that plan, we're talking probably 5-6 years out before anything gets developed in that plan. We don't know what it's going to do. We don't know what the impact's going to be on the district, but we have an issue that has to be handled immediately with the student population in 2 particular schools. So I don't see how we can avoid it at this time. And I'm glad that it was brought up. So that's why I agreed that we should really move forward with this, because if we were a year out with strategic plan, that's a different story. But I can't see us being, we're at least 5-6 years out on that before we do any movement. Else?
I have a question.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I can't remember. The impact per household on what was proposed is what?
$70.12.
So it'd be $70.12, and then if we were to make a motion to add this as a line item, it'd be $72 or so?
$72.29.
Yeah, $72 up from 70.
Yeah.
Based on the average assessment.
And that's if we decide to move forward and change the
Correct.
final amount. If we still approve, which it sounds, we do have the consensus to add the additional position, but we do not change the price, the bottom line, then we're still, and we're just reallocating funds within the current budget.
Yeah, as long as you don't reallocate out of the facilities department.
I will support you on that 100%, Mr. Kanka, not out of the facilities part. Ms. Byrne?
Just for clarification, so that formula is based on a home that's like 220,000, correct?
256.
That's the average out of all 27,000
That's your
taxable
average.
properties in the township.
Because I know we're paying an awful lot more than that.
You'll be paying
You're
more.
well above the
It's-
average,
it's
Mrs. Byrne.
It's on what the house is assessed, a tax
Assessed.
assessment.
Assessed
What your
value.
house is assessed at in the municipality for tax is different.
I'm just, I
it's
just
different
want to be
basis, but I
realistic.
believe-
So, for what we're going to be really, it's not going to just be $5 a month for the average homeowner who lives in Hamilton. It's going to be,
That is the average assessed value of homes, the assessed value of the home.
Assessed.
And I believe-
Correct.
Right.
but
and
what I'm
so-
trying to clarify is it's going to turn out to be, I mean, I want to be realistic.
Yeah, if
It's
you're
gonna be
above the
something like
assessed, you're going to pay
30.
more. If you're below, you're going to pay less.
Yeah, and it could be substantial for some people. That's something that I know weighs heavily on me when I see senior citizens working at Walmart, that we're going to be raising taxes, so.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought that up because I also want to make our senior citizens aware there are opportunities for senior citizens who own property in town or taxpayers and have lived here, I believe it's 10 years, and they can lock their taxes in.
Yes.
So that they never get a tax increase. So
When
I
you
think
turn
that's-
65.
When they turn 65, and it's a very important thing for our taxpayers to know there, that when they hit those markers, and I believe it's on the town's website.
You have to file every single year.
But you are eligible for it.
Yes,
Oh,
if you're
just
65.
automatically,
You have to file
Anybody-
for it.
but
Anybody-
what are the prerequisites for being
65 and
available?
over, 10 years in the house.
Yes.
That's a minimum.
I just want to clarify, my understanding of the $70 is based upon every $100,000 that you're assessed. Is that accurate? No?
No, on the,
56.
on the,
Based on the average
76.
assessment.
per 100,000 assessed value, it's $32.61.
Oh, okay.
On top of the 220.
So if you're assessed,
And estimate if you are assessed for 300,000, then.
Pay a little bit
it's
more.
About $90, right? You said 30.
It's, yes, correct, yes.
Dr. McShane?
So just to move it along, like I'll say I'm okay with either route here. I think it's, we increase the tax a little bit more, which no one really wants to do, but it's either we're doing that now or we're borrowing from the $2 from next year's budget. So, either way, I'm okay.
Well, yes, you're borrowing it from next year's budget, but as, I'm really like an in-the-moment person. As Dr. Rocco noted, we have a number of people who will be retiring. That shifts funds back into the budget because you may be hiring people who,
Yeah, exactly.
won't get the same salary. I'm okay with leaving it as it is. I don't think we need to raise it $2 more. I just wanted to understand it, so.
So being that we are going to be voting on this in the agenda portion of our meeting, I'll give everyone a little bit of time to think about it, and then if someone wants to raise a motion to raise the taxes in regards to that additional funds, or raise the budget by that additional funds, then we can do it in that portion. Correct, Patrick? Okay.
And the public still, we have public comment
And we
before
will
that.
be able to have public comment, so that if anyone from the public wishes to, come up and speak in regards to that, we really would like to hear your comments.
But I have a question. Is the budget that's being proposed tonight, is that based on the 2% cap?
That is the 2% cap plus the enrollment adjustment, which is a
Okay.
3.3%
Is this
increase.
additional position going to put us over that cap?
So there are two ways that's being discussed at the table. One is no, exactly as I've presented it, that is what it would be. And then the other, as Ms. Thornton has said, is if somebody wants to discuss raising an additional 130,000. So onto the tax, I believe onto the,
But the tax levy right now is based,
no.
the amount that we're,
1 second, I'm sorry.
What's the question?
Is that what?
What's the question I'm being asked?
it-
We're voting 2% plus the enrollment adjustment. That's
Right.
automatic that we actually get before the 2% applies. So it's a 3.34% increase.
But what's the range to add a second assistant?
Yes.
And how is that?
How would we be able to do that? Well, as we mentioned before, we're still under actually the cap because we're also eligible for over $1 million in a health benefits adjustment. And we have multiple millions of dollars of bank cap that's available.
Thank you for clarifying that, Ms. Atwood.
Thank you, Mrs. Atwood.
So if we can't, Mr. Salantano, did you have one more question?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
talking about total. What was it the 8 million? Was that the additional monies added to the budget for this year that I seen up there?
That was the budget gap. The $8.9 million was the
gap?
budget gap.
Okay, so what's the difference before we started taking money from here and there? What was the difference between last year's budget and this year's budget that included the 2% that were allowed to raise it? And I think you said 3 point something because of the
3.3.
because, excuse me, because of enrollment.
3.3.
Yeah, so where do we start at? What was the original number? Because unless I misunderstood something, I think we took money from a capital reserve to make up the difference. No, yes? No? Okay. So that was all within the,
It was all within the,
3 point?
it was all within the 3.3% and the cap and the state aid that we received.
Okay.
So we're going to move on, and then if we do have any other additional comments or questions, we can ask them during our agenda portion, because we will be voting on the tentative budget. Mr. Kanka, you have one more question?
It's not a question, it's
Okay.
just a comment
Okay.
based on the Dr. Rocco's presentation. I do want to, the facilities committee brought to the administration the importance of securing the unsecured doors in the district, and I'm just glad to see that that money's in there to lock these things up so they can be monitored.
Thank you, Mr. Kanka. Okay, so we're going to move on to our committee reports. We'll start with Dr. Ferrara for curriculum and instruction.
Thank you, Mrs. Thornton. Good evening, everyone. The C&I committee met on March 6th, and all members were present. Mr. Scotto first updated us on C&I department community activities, and I guess I'll call them. For the 6th year in a row, the department held AP potential assemblies at all 3 high schools. There are 25 AP courses offered in the district, and the district covers the cost for those AP exams that students take. These assemblies are designed to encourage students who might shy away from taking an AP class to consider tackling such a course, especially if the student is considering college. The district reaches out to students who, based on PSAT scores and other measures, show the potential to handle an AP course, but might not consider such a class. The district also offers a summer class called Jumpstart to AP. The program's free and is taught by district AP teachers, and the class is designed to prepare students for the rigors of becoming an AP student in the fall. So all of those, that outreach has been done. There's more information on the district's C&I webpage under AP programs. iReady scores have gone out to those who have students in grades 1 through 5. Document shows how students have grown in mathematics and English language arts from the start of the school, as measured by 2 iReady benchmarking tests, 1 and 2. And families can also find more information about iReady scores if they did not understand what they got in the mail on the C&I website, or to reach out to the C&I department. The March Digital Family Resources newsletter has been sent from the district also to families, and these newsletters for people who don't have children in the district are available on the C&I webpage under the tab called Family Resources. I wanted to provide board members and the community some context for the state's new FAFSA requirement that we discussed last month and the request from NJ HESA that was tabled at the meeting. This year, New Jersey became the 13th state in the country to require students to file a FAFSA in order to graduate. This law takes effect for seniors graduating in June of 2025. The FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid and actually takes its roots in the 1965 Higher Education Act. The 2021 legislative changes streamlined the FAFSA, reducing the number of questions on the application from 108 to 36. Student eligibility was also broadened during this change, and there was an extensive piece in the Washington Post this week about why students are currently facing problems filing the FAFSA. Essentially, it's about congressional expectations for technology versus technical reality. Is that a good way to put it, Mr. O'Boyle? NJ HESA, which stands for Higher Education Student Assistance Authority, is even older than the FAFSA program, having been created in 1959. And the HESA website notes that it's the only New Jersey state agency with the sole mission of providing students and families with financial and informational resources for students to pursue their education beyond high school. So HESA has been in operation in one form or another for 65 years, and it has been collecting student data and working with FAFSA during that entire time period. So that data has been collected not just recently, but over an extended decades. The agreement that has been tabled for the moment merely asks the board to allow HESA to release to the district information indicating which graduating seniors filed the FAFSA. The goal with the release of that information is to have guidance counselors follow up with students who haven't filed to remind them that it is a graduation requirement. That released information would only go to the superintendent, the director of guidance, and the 3 head guidance counselors. And it is literally the name of the student and the birth date of the student so that they can make sure, kids with John Smith, if there's 2 of them, they can separate them. It's merely to mark off who has filed the FAFSA and who hasn't. So the process looks like this. Student files with FAFSA, FAFSA shares the information with HESA. The next step and the new step, the one that we'll be asked to approve, is that HESA shares limited FAFSA filing information with the district, and that is a provision in the law. The last piece that many of us expressed concerns about was the waiver allowing families to decline filing for the FAFSA. As I noted, New Jersey is the 13th state to enact this legislation behind Louisiana, Illinois, Alabama, Texas, California, Maryland, New Hampshire, Kansas, Indiana, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Connecticut. I looked at waivers posted online from California, Illinois, Louisiana, and New Hampshire. They are 1 page long. The forms merely say, I do not want to file a FAFSA, and it's signed by a parent or a student over the age of 18. The New Jersey legislation leaves the design of the waiver up to the Department of Education Commissioner and the State Board of Education. New Jersey school boards told me that they expect to see a waiver right before school starts in the fall. But that request for HESA will come back to the board later this year. Highlighting the several items on the agenda tonight, item 2 is field trips. Note that it includes a last-minute addition for students from Nottingham to attend the Consumer Bowl regional competition on April 16th in Freehold. The team took first place in Mercer County, beating out Heightstown, which apparently has been the reigning champs for 7 years, so that's very exciting. Item 3 asks us to approve a grant submission put together by Ms. Audino and Ms. Verlato called the DREAMS Program. This opportunity is being offered by the New Jersey Department of Children and Families in partnership with the New Jersey Department of Education. If selected for this opportunity, Ms. Verlato and Ms. Audino will receive training in the Nurtured Heart approach, which, and I'm quoting here, is a method for creating a supportive, and positive school culture that prioritizes the building of healthy relationships, recognizes every student's greatness, and promotes the development of self-regulation strategies for both staff and students. Should HTSD get selected, Ms. Audino, Ms. Ferlata would train and then come back and teach others in the district how to use the Nurtured Heart approach. And if you Google Nurtured Heart approach, you can see what it's all about. Item 4 asks us to approve the creation of one ice hockey team for the district for the 24-25 and 25-26 seasons. The district received an okay from the Colonial Valley Conference. Approval of this item allows the district to request approval from New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association. And item 5 is a second reading on the sick leave policy, which is being updated per legislation out of Trenton. The policy expands the scope of allowable uses of sick leave for school district employees. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farrar. Dr. McSheen, the Personnel Committee report?
Yes. Okay. So the Personnel Committee met last week on Wednesday, the 6th. We covered a lot of the same items that the other committees have also gone over, so I won't dive much more into those. The main item for our Personnel Committee was discussion of a new job description that is item 12 under Personnel, up for vote tonight. It is the summer camp junior counselor position, which is basically aimed at high school age students looking to work at our Hamilton summer camps for the summer. And again, that is item 12. We were also informed of the 2024 recruitment activities that a district is participating in, as well as vacancies in the district. Is there anything else for personnel that I might have missed, or any more comments? Anything? Good.
I just have a question. When is the district event that we always have for recruitment? The one that we always have in Steiner in the...
Oh, the district job fair?
Yeah. There we go.
That will be Dr. Copeland?
That will be later this spring. We have not confirmed a date, but we are planning for it.
Okay, thank you.
And then for DCR, the DCR committee is meeting next week. Knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't snow for the 3rd time in a row, which is insane. Very challenging. I'm saying it because if it does happen, we're having our meeting outside, we're throwing snowballs. Yeah, or outside. But it will happen. Rain, snow, sleet, I don't care. It will happen Tuesday, March 19th at 5 p.m. In or around Nottingham in the library. And that's it for
Thank you,
now.
Dr. McSheen. Mr. Kanka, the Facilities and Finance Committee report, please.
The Finance Operations Committee met on March the 6th at 8:30 a.m. I would like to thank the committee members that attended and senior staff. Very first item on the agenda was the communications from Dr. Rocco. He reported on community updates that went out and were posted on the board library. Then we moved into our first initiative item, which was the budget presentation, the draft of the budget presentation, which pretty much was what you saw tonight in the presentation from Dr. Rocco. Then we moved on to a few items that were up for renewal. The CYO YMCA contract renewal for the before and after programs at the school. It's going to be a 3-year contract, and that that contract is on tonight's agenda for approval. It was a 3-year deal that is going to be there's going to be across the board 2% increase each year. So that's on the agenda tonight. Then we moved into capital projects. That will be awarded on the March agenda, which is tonight. The ramp and north science wing windows, the west ramp and the north science wing windows, the Crockett shop room change of use, and the Wilson modular classroom that's coming up for this year. There's also one item on there. It's number 13, which we are, I believe it's 13. Yes, there was a bid that came in for the high school science labs that is on the agenda for rejection tonight. And then we had a discussion on the signer request for the after prom event, and that was we had and it was about a request from a vendor to waive some of the insurance requirements. So we discussed that. Then there was a couple of the strategic planning items that I don't think anybody, Dr. Farrar spoke on the HISA agreement. We had a very, very long conversation in the committee on that particular item. Then Mrs. Aldino did a data team presentation. She discussed the 2023 pilot and the 23-24 timeline and rollout of the program of the multi-tier systems of supports MTSS. We also discussed a naming of an area at the Grace Junior High, which is being handled by Dr. Altabello. He's been in constant touch with the community group that put in the request, and we also talked about the administrator daily rate in this meeting. So, and that pretty much concludes what I had to say about this. Our next initiatives meeting is scheduled for April 17, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. If anybody has any questions, I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kenka. No questions? Mr. Kenka, do you have anything on negotiations?
I do. We had a scheduled meeting last night, March the 12th, 2024, at 5 p.m. It was a meet and greet with the HTEA and their bargaining team and the administration and the board bargaining team. We sat in, had an introduction, and then we went on to discuss ground rules for the meeting that's going to take place during the entire negotiation session. So that's really much about all we really did last night. And we did get together on a schedule for our next meeting, and our next meeting is scheduled for March 25th and April 9th at the Park Avenue building. And I would like to thank the HTEA for their attendance at the meeting.
Mrs. Thornton?
Thank you, Mr. Kenka.
I have
Yes, Dr. Farrar.
Mr. Kanka, why are we rejecting the bid for the Lab Media Center?
What was that?
Number 13, why are we rejecting that bid?
There was a problem with with the bid itself.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Mr. Kenka. So we're going to move on to hearing of the public on agenda items only. I do have 2 signed up for hearing of the public. We will start with Chanel Vickers Ames.
That's our roadie,
Yeah, under the agenda.
Mike the roadie.
Please state your name and address. Thank you.
We good? Okay. Chanel Vickers-Ames, Hamiltonian. I just wanted to come up and speak about the VPs in the elementary schools. Coming from a, you want me to be quiet already? I just started. Coming from a Wilson parent standpoint, we've actually asked for a VP prior to COVID at Wilson. Wilson has a lot of kids in that school, but not just pinpointing Wilson. I know for a fact that having the VPs in the elementary school level would be a great suggestion, a great move for our district. It would actually help not just the students, but it would also help our administration. I know budget is a big thing in our district, but we will get through it. I know we will. We always do. But the need is well overdue for the simple fact of the kids coming in with a lot of extra needed attention nowadays. And it would be better for their safety, the control, and the mental health of our administration and the staff. And I know like the principals get overworked, the guidance counselors get overworked, the students are overworked. So I think this would be something that we really need to consider across the board. Even if it does take us hopping them around from school to school, we gotta, tweak it and move forward and see where it takes us. But this would be something wonderful for our district, especially for the health and the mental stability of everybody in our township. That's it. Thank you.
Patty Adonisio? Okay, all right, we'll put you on the next one.
Oh.
No problem. So that does conclude the portion of hearing of the public. So we're going to move on to our agenda items.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Kanka.
We sort of skipped over
Oh,
the
thank you,
suspension
Mr.
report.
Kanka. I'm going to go backwards. I do apologize.
Pension, health, and whatever else.
Does anyone have any questions on the monthly suspension report?
Oh.
On the monthly HIB report?
Oh.
And on the monthly health report?
For the healthy community.
And I apologize for missing that.
It happens.
Now thank you, Mr. Kanka. Now we're going to move on to curriculum and instruction on the agenda. Dr. Farrar, can you take us through curriculum and instruction?
Absolutely. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I move items 1 through 8.
Second.
Do we have any questions on agenda items for curriculum and instruction 1 through 8?
I have a question.
Mr. Celentano.
Maybe a clarification. On number 5, the policy. I still don't know why we're doing this when we do it anyhow, okay? So what is the benefit of adding this policy versus what our normal practice in an employment office? I don't understand. What do we need? What am I missing?
Flexibility.
It's called, the state legislature says we have to do it.
Is that another one from the state? Is it
Yes.
really?
That's what this is.
Really flexibility. So it's a sick day. You can
So-
use it for a sick family member, for yourself, for a vet appointment, dentist appointment. It's less restriction as to.
See where I'm coming from, Denise? You're probably right, and I agree with you. We do that anyhow, but if that's the case,
Yeah, it came out of Trenton.
And I think, Mr. Celentano, this was put in place in reaction to COVID and families not being able to use those, maybe in other districts, not being able to use those days when they had maybe a sick child or a sick parent. So although we might be flexible here in Hamilton, I think it's so that it's across the board. Families can use those hours as they please.
okay.
I have a question. So just for clarification, the employee gets a certain amount of sick days. That's part of their cut. This is not going to change the amount of sick days. It's just making it more flexible. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think clearly defining for the employees so that they know when they can take the sick day.
I guess where I come from, I'm not used to people shoving things down my throat from the state of New Jersey.
How long have you been on the Board of Education? You know everything comes out of Trenton.
Yeah, I know, and
Everyone,
it's like
please.
crazy.
I'm just going to take 1 second. So just so we can have some order. Just please wait until you're recognized to make a statement before we move forward so that everyone's not talking over each other and everybody can be heard, okay? Thank you.
You'll be able to recognize me by now.
Do we have any other questions on curriculum and
tearing.
instruction?
Eyes are tearing.
Mr. Kanka?
I also have a question. I also have a comment I would like to make on number 5. A lot of the items that are listed in this particular policy are negotiated items through collective bargaining. The teacher, we all, they get a certain amount of days off, sick days, family leave and stuff like that. So am I to believe that we have to eliminate that out of our agreement when we go into those particular groups for negotiations? If it's going to be a policy of the district, that means the state is taking away collective bargaining from these particular bargaining groups. They're taking it away from them.
I'm going to refer to Mr. Carrig for that.
So when the state passes a law that is clear and specific on an issue, then the parties cannot go against that state law. So parties being the association or any association, a collective bargaining agreement, and us. And so to the extent that any current contract language doesn't rise to the level of what the state sets as the minimum, we automatically observe the minimum set by the state. You can still bargain beyond that minimum. And that's the area that you can go into. We're not at a point to know what we're going to be negotiating on with respect to leave days. So, outside of this being something that the state is mandating and the Board of Education being required by administrative code to adopt policies consistent with state laws and administrative code, there's really nothing to be done with respect to this policy.
But there is one item in particular that exceeds what we already offer through collective bargaining. And I just have a problem with the state telling us that they're taking those negotiated items away from the board and away from the associations. So in essence, they're gutting the process based on what they feel is right.
Yes, they do this a lot.
Just want to make that clear to the association members that are here.
Thank you, Mr. Kanka. Dr. McSheen.
So just a question on bereavement. Are there specific bereavement days for our employees, or is it just they're able to use sick days?
What? Sorry, I didn't hear.
Bereavement for our employees?
We have bereavement in the contract, but then in this policy, based on the state law, it does say, I believe, up to 7 days.
Yeah,
for
so they can
bereavement.
use 7 days if they need to beyond
Correct.
bereavement. Okay, thank you.
I believe Ms. Harvey had a question.
Might be same one, but Mr. Kanka had pointed out that this policy is changing a negotiated term, and what, I just wanted to know what it was.
Bereavement would be one of those items.
So currently, is it a separate category for bereavement?
Yes.
Okay, so technically now, under this policy, you're using sick time. So it's not creating something better, because you always had sick time, and now you could use up to 7 days for bereavement, but we have, perhaps that is an item for collective bargaining, because we can change that category because we don't need it anymore, right? That's something that's negotiated.
I would say this, we are in the midst of negotiation, so I think it's for a conversation.
I think that if everybody wants to discuss it, my analysis at length, I'm more than happy to do it in executive session where it's appropriate. But that discussion and the passage of this policy have little to do with each other. Like the passage of the policy is just a reflection of state law. The discussion of what the HTA is entitled to is one that I would share with you guys, but really is not something that I should share with the public, nor people from the HTA. Not that I don't get along with them. I just,
No, my only point was that it's not actually taking away items, to Mr. Kenka's concern, that because we're following state law, this is different than what we've negotiated.
yeah.
So that was my only point.
That's if this passed, we'll have to follow state law. We don't, there is no state law now,
No, now there is.
huh?
There is.
But we don't follow it.
For these items, there are.
These items, I am correct.
Negotiate. That's what.
But a lot of stuff in there is negotiated, through collective bargaining.
Well, I will say, as Dr. Rocco and Mr. Carrick have both stated, these are negotiation items, and we really should discuss anything further under attorney-client privilege. Do I have any other questions on curriculum instruction? Okay, seeing none, roll call?
Dr. Farrar?
Yes.
Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Kanka?
Yes on everything, no on 5.
On which number, I'm sorry?
5.
5. Okay. Dr. McSheen?
Yes.
Soto?
Yes.
Stanton?
Yes.
Byrne?
No on 5, yes to the rest.
Mr. Salantano?
Yes, no on number 5.
Ms. Thornton?
Yes.
Motion passes. Motions pass.
Mr. Kanka, can you take us through the finance and operation agenda?
No, I'm upset right now.
Okay.
Too upset.
Yes, I will.
Thank you, Mr. Kanka.
The foot.
As per recommendation of the superintendent, I move in finance and operations, motions 1 through 18.
Second.
Do I have any questions on finance and operation? Okay. So I'm just going to, if I can, make a comment. So we do have the tentative budget, the adoption of the 24-25 budget on as item 11. We had, I think, a very good discussion on ways to adjust and reallocate funds. I absolutely support adding an additional elementary vice principal. So I do support having 2 in our budget, but I think that it is such a robust budget. I'm sure that the administration could adjust it in a way that we wouldn't have to add any additional tax expense to the district and the community members. So I am just putting out there that I do support the additional position, but I do think we can do that within the current budget and monies allocated. Mr. Kanka.
I agree with you 100%. I also think that we could find $130,000 somewhere in this $286 million budget to pay for that additional staff member without changing the tax levy.
Great. Okay. Any other questions on finance and operation? Okay. Atwood, can you roll call?
Dr. Farrar?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Kanka?
Yes.
Dr. McSheen?
Yes.
Ms. Soto?
Yes.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Abstain number 11, and yes to the rest.
Mr. Salantano?
Yes, and I'm going to abstain on 11 until next month. I have to.
Ms. Thornton?
Yes.
Motion's pass.
Personnel agenda, Dr. McSheen, can you take us through personnel items?
I would be happy to. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I move personnel items 1 through 13.
Second.
Do I have any questions or comments on personnel items?
once again, I probably never asked this question the right way. I think I just made some comments. Can we get a summary of the folks, not by name, just by title and the total number of folks that we have lost over the last year or so? I mean, like I said, I went back 15 months, and there was about 120 resignations. And I think me personally, I'm acting as an analyst right now. I'm going to look and see the number, and I won't name a school, but a particular school, let's just say, has 15 resignations, and everybody else is like 2 and 3. Then I think it's the administration's job to find out why is it that we're losing staff at a particular school. I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm just trying to do what I used to do years ago. Be a pain, but that's besides the
Yeah,
point.
and so I wanted to actually say, because last month we talked about this, you brought up exit interviews. I went to a session yesterday, specifically, it was on a lot of different topics, but a presentation was done by an organization, and they spent about 45 minutes talking about hiring, retaining, and people leaving, and they talked about exit interviews versus what they're calling, which I never thought of it this way, but stay interviews. And so you talk to your non-tenured staff, and instead of doing the exit interviews, and I'm not saying we wouldn't do that, but instead of doing the exit interviews, you talk to people and you say,
Try to keep them.
what is keeping you here? What grounds you? What roots you in staying in the district? And they said that can be as valuable, if not more valuable, than exit interviews. And they weren't talking you out of the exit interview concept, but trying to really understand why people stay in a district so that then you can use that to retain more people over time. And I thought it was a unique way of going about it. They provided some examples. It was a very well done presentation, but I was going to mention it if you brought it up. But yes, we can take a look at it from an analyst perspective. But the point of the presentation was that, and this was their argument, that a generation of employees right now are not hesitant to pick up and move. And not necessarily just pick up and move and go to another teaching position, but to just go and go anywhere type of thing. And I thought it was kind of made you take a deep breath and cleansing breath out and say, okay, I get it, it's happening all over the place. But they did give us some ideas that I'll be talking with Dr. Copeland and his team about, but that was yesterday we went to.
Yeah, and that's good, because I think it works both ways. I mean, when you mentioned a question to stay, I don't know, do you interview the folks who are retiring? If you do that, because if they're here like 20, 30 years, why did you stay here 20, 30 years?
40 years.
Or 40 years, yeah. But I just think it would be nice to know for statistical purposes,
Right.
especially for the administration, as to what's going on, why. I mean, I can probably tell you off the top of my head why there's a few of them leaving real quick, because of dollars and cents and health benefits. That's my opinion. And I think we need to close that gap if we intend to keep people here.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Sal.
if the negotiating chair heard that, remember what I just said.
So,
What?
thank you, Mr. Salentano. So I actually would like to make a comment. So at each meeting, we like to recognize our wonderful employees here that are retiring. I have to say, between last month's agenda and this one, we do have quite a few. And there is quite a few years of service here to Hamilton. So I just wanted to recognize our retirements. Elementary teacher from Cooser Elementary School, 27 years service to Hamilton, Tara Flynn Angelini. Art teacher for Hamilton High School North, 20 years service to Hamilton, Dawn Coluccio. Elementary teacher, Sunnybray Elementary School, 27 years to Hamilton, Jane Hendrickson. Language arts teacher, Reynolds Middle School, 26 years service to Hamilton, Joy Palmieri. Technology teacher, Hamilton High School North, 30 years service to Hamilton, Scott Innocenzi. Elementary teacher, University Heights Elementary School, 25 years service to Hamilton, Marianne Riccardi. Math teacher, Reynolds Middle School, 23 years service to Hamilton, Denise Smith. Special education teacher, Hamilton High School East, 30 years service to Hamilton, Amy Yasik. Business teacher, Hamilton High School East, 43 years service to Hamilton, Ronald Yasek. Elementary teacher, Kuzer Elementary School, 26 years service to Hamilton, James Yanisil. Educational assistant, Sunnybray Elementary School, 25 years service to Hamilton, June Horn. Vice principal, Hamilton High School North, 33 years service to Hamilton, Dawn Sessa White. Executive assistant to the business administrator, 20 years service to Hamilton, Elizabeth Bavoso. Custodian at Robinson Elementary School, 29 years service, Wayne Walker. I want to wish you all the best. We wish you all the best in your retirement. I have to say, going over these retirements, there are a few here, and in the past couple years that I can say I've been blessed to have in my children's lives and educational life, and I truly want you to know that you've all made a difference, and we thank you.
Mrs. Thornton?
That's where the, what do you call it, question comes in. That's where the question comes in, is why did you stay?
So most of the community doesn't know Betty Bavazzo, but here on the board, she's like our mom. She's like our board mom. She makes sure that we file our ethics filings. She makes sure that we know how we can get to an NJSBA committee meeting, pays for it. And my heart sank when, I don't know if I can live without Betty. I don't know how you're gonna be able to live without Betty, but she's been wonderful. Whenever you're like lost, you just pick up the phone and go, Betty, what am I supposed to do here and what do I need to give you? So, but maybe we'll get walking partner now. But I just wanted to speak to that.
Thank you, Dr. Farrar. Mr. Kanka.
When I saw Betty's name on the list, the very first thing I did was I called her up. And I said, what's the matter with you? You're leaving us all hanging over here. Because when we had to fill out those ethics forms, I could not get on that site no matter what I did. I tried multiple computers. And then Betty calls me back. She says, I can't get on either. So eventually eventually she got on. I still couldn't get on. So what I did was I printed out my form from last year, and I actually brought it to Katie the last meeting, and she gave it to Betty, and Betty filled it out because she was able to get on, but I still can't get on. So I called her and wished her very well today, and I still have till September 1st to talk her out of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the service, for her service.
Thank you. Ms. Atwood, roll call.
Sadly, I will do it. Dr. Farrar?
Yes, can I say no on Betty?
No on Betty. She told me not to say no.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes, but I abstain from C5.
Mr. Kanka?
Yes.
Dr. McSheen?
Yes.
Soto?
Yes.
Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Salentano?
Yes, yes.
Ms. Thornton?
Yes.
Motion's passed.
So this moves us to other business. Do any board members have any items under other business? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to our second hearing of the public on school-related matters. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So I am going to start with Janice Glonick.
Okay, Janice Glonick, 432 Trinity Avenue. Okay, a couple things have happened that made me want to mention about cursive writing again. I happened to overhear someone headed down motor vehicle, and someone came in for a permit, and they had to sign their name to get it, and they didn't know how to write their name. And which drives me nuts, because every state in this country should be teaching cursive writing. You need to be able to write your name, minimal. I also had a former parent write me a note in cursive, and she had read in the paper that there is an exclusive restaurant in New York, upscale, and their menus are all handwritten, and if you can't read cursive, you can't eat in this elite restaurant because it's all in cursive. Our kids are going to come across cursive writing in their lifetime far more than the geometry, science, and chemistry lessons they learn, which is why I sincerely hope Mr. Scotto and the curriculum department are emphasizing it in 3rd grade and making sure everybody's doing a great job and working on quick lessons in 4th and 5th grade for either this year or next year. Like I said, all you need is 2 30-minute lessons a week, 1 decoding a sentence, being if you can read the cursive writing, and the other one being able to write a printed sentence. That is a necessity in order to be able to not be embarrassed somewhere further down in your life. 5 years ago, I went to Cleveland, Ohio to see my favorite polka band leader installed in the Polka Hall of Fame. They were selling raffle tickets for $20 and it lasted for 26 weeks. 26 weeks, so that was great. And pulling every Saturday. I happened to win that weekend, and then 2 months later, because they throw the ticket back, which I didn't think was too fair, but they did it anyway. Well, they send me tickets every year, and I continue to buy them. I got a letter at the end of January to say that I had won. And the unique thing was, the envelope had printed lines on it for cursive writing the address, which I thought was just so neat. The lines were there to cursively write the address of the winner. Also inside, there was a letter that said I had won, but there was also a short handwritten note to me, and thank goodness I can read cursive. It made the letter so much more personal with her fancy hooks on her Y's and G's. And the cursive makes things far more special and meaningful than just reading a certain thing. So I cannot emphasize enough how important cursive is. Now, the Polka Hall of Fame writes this letter in cursive every weekend and sends it out, so go Polacks. Also, it occurs to me that looking at the envelope, you can't be a mail carrier if you can't read cursive writing. Just imagine what would happen to the mail department. We would be killing our mail department, so we definitely have to make sure we have people who can read cursive so the mail still can be delivered. And also on another note, Jim Whalen, the electrician, you should see his cursive writing. Really good.
Catholic school.
He did, my mom said. There was a teacher there you had a copy 4 L's, 4 J's. He did it. You couldn't tell the difference. He's good.
Thank you very much, Ms. Klonick.
We'll hire him to teach it.
Patty Adonisio? On the right one this time, yes.
Is she on the right form this time?
I'm.
When I looked, when it went up, I went, oh my God, I signed the right one. But anyway, hi, everybody, Patty Adonisio, HTEA. I forgot about the presentations by the kids, but how awesome they were. Those kids did a really good job, and just a shout out that they were fantastic, and they should be really proud, and their teachers, of all their hard work tonight. Please continue to the board members to go visit the schools. There's really fun things happening. I was over at Robinson last week, and I stopped down to see Maria Colgan. She and I went to school together, so I figured I'll pop my head into kindergarten. And I got to watch and witness, and I may or may not have took part in the morning dance party that they had, it was great. It was a play on another song, Unlock Your Brain, getting the kids ready for the day. A lot of fun. So please go take a look. There's a lot of fun things happening. And the only other thing I had was to thank the board's negotiating team for meeting with us last night. And we're looking forward to positive and productive meetings going forward. So have a good night.
Thank you.
Is it time?
So that concludes the hearing portion of the meeting. And can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I want to stay.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
Time is it, Stacy?